What up, Miles? Where you at, dog?
What's up? I'm in Phoenix.
Back home in
Perfect
Phoenix.
right now. Yep. No snow on the ground. No nothing.
Oh man,
Just
it's
sunshine.
actively snowing here.
Is it?
Yeah, in Chicago. There's like a snowblower outside. If you hear the ambient noise.
Nothing but airplanes for ambient noise here.
Sunday, February 10th. We haven't done a pod since the trade deadline. What's up?
Well, I got a lot of notes here.
Oh man, where do we start?
You want to start with winners of the trade deadline here, or losers first?
We can just go team by team. I just have just give me a winner, give me a loser, I guess.
I think Philadelphia definitely won. Their pickup, Tobias Harris, I think was probably the biggest pickup of this trade deadline, in my opinion.
So if for the people at home, just so we'll catch up, February 6th, they traded Wilson Chandler, Mike Muscala, and Larry Shamet, and their 2020 first-round pick, a 2021 first-round pick, 2021 second-round pick, and a 2023 second-round pick to the Los Angeles Clippers for forward Tobias Harris, center Boban Marjanovic, and Mike Scott. So one of the picks is a top 14 pick protected. The next one's the unprotected Miami 2021 pick.
Yep.
Then we have 2 Detroit second rounders.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they traded for Malachi Richardson for the Toronto Raptors, probably to fill out cap space. And then a day later, they traded Markelle Fultz to the Orlando Magic for Jonathan Simmons and a 2019 first-round pick and a 2019 second. So they got a first-round pick back this year for Markelle Fultz.
And to be clear, I think the Clippers definitely won in this as well. Like, they're collecting.
Well, we'll get to the Clippers
draft picks. Okay.
So how did the Sixers? How does Tobias Harris fit with the Sixers?
The Sixers are so big and lengthy, like throughout. Like Ben Simmons right now has been taking the point position. I think Tobias Harris gives them another scoring option that can sort of fill in like a Klay Thompson type of position, like relating them to the Warriors and how they match up with the Warriors, because that's the end game. You have to be able to match up with the Warriors. Tobias Harris kind of gives them, to me, that depth.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because when you think about matching up with the Warriors, you're really talking about your 5 against their best 5, including DeMarcus Cousins in that, mystery 5th spot that's been occupied by Andre Iguodala when they do the Death 5 lineup. And that I'm talking about is Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, KD, Draymond Green, and then DeMarcus Cousins. So if we're going, matching up against that as like, top 5 all-time NBA 5, I think the weak link of that is DeMarcus Cousins, and the weak link of your Philadelphia version of that is JJ Redick. But honestly, you could argue that JJ Redick should have been an all-star candidate this year for the Philadelphia 76ers.
I love the way that JJ Redick has been playing, and he's consistent. He's a guy that you know exactly what to expect out of him. He's experienced, and he's not afraid of anything in the NBA, like any matchup in the NBA. That's what I love about JJ Redick. So I wouldn't even consider him a weak link. I probably trust him more than DeMarcus Cousins. When Golden State played Philadelphia, was it 3 days ago? Something like that. They actually beat Golden State. Embiid went off for 29 and 20, and DeMarcus Cousins was left with 7 and 6, which was the first game that I think I've seen DeMarcus Cousins actually struggle. And that was interesting because it was DeMarcus Cousins matching up against a real big man.
So it's also interesting to note when you think of Wilson Chandler as a contributing member to this team, I don't think, but he's not the same player he was his Denver Nugget days. I have a stat that's kind of interesting. So the lineup of Butler, Chandler, Embiid, Shamet, and Simmons, right? So that's the big three plus Shamet, a shooter, and Chandler, minus 40 point differential in 42 minutes. So Shamet is a nice young player, but I think there's something to be said about toughness, defensive toughness. Yeah, he can knock down open threes. He can get hot. He's a streaky shooter, but I don't think he's necessarily a guy that you can count on in the playoffs. And Tobias Harris, I think if you think about like all of the trades that they could have made, who was available out there, maybe on the same contract as him, I'm thinking of like a Kemba Walker. I think by trading for such a big wing, it really masks the Robert Covington hole that the team has been filled, that the team needs, while also making a playmaker that Tobias Harris has developed into this year.
Yeah, and the defensive aspect of Philadelphia would be my main concern. That since you brought that up, is Tobias Harris isn't necessarily known for his defense. He can kind of be up and down on the defensive end of the floor. But I think with Embiid down in the paint, and now they've got Boban coming off the bench, they've constantly got a rim protector, at least. But then with Simmons and Butler, I mean, Simmons is so long, he can take up a lot of space on the floor. He deflects a lot of passes, and he can contest shots, which is what you need in this league.
I think the Sixers looked at the trade deadline and said, listen, we're not at the level of a Milwaukee or Toronto the way we are. Did they take that next step by getting to, but did that, to you, in your mind, was that enough to offset that difference between the top level talent in the East?
I think it did. It definitely put them in the running. I'm not going to say like, oh, it iced them an Eastern Conference Finals by any means.
Would you be so disappointed if they were the 4 seed?
No. Well, I guess it depends on who the 5 seed was. No, I wouldn't be, honestly.
It depends on Embiid's health. I mean, he's been battling through back injuries all year. I think with somebody that size and given his injury history, hopefully he doesn't do anything, but they really depend on him a lot for inside-out presence, especially, when they're knocking down the shots. I think Embiid said in his post-game interview today, they played the Los Angeles Lakers and they beat them pretty handily. He was like, as long as my teammates make open shots, I'll be happy, because sometimes they don't make it if I pass out, and I don't like to pass out. Essentially, I'm, paraphrasing. It's funny that, I kind of want to go down this road if you'll conspire with me here. So they play the Lakers today, and Ben Simmons is a clutch agent. He has drawn comparisons to one Magic Johnson, LeBron James, coming out of high school as a really highly touted prospect who should have and could have probably made the jump from high school to NBA and had relative success. But instead went 1 year at LSU, didn't really play well, didn't make the tournament, despite having teammate Antonio Blakely, who's tearing it up for the Bulls right now. Tearing it up. And news came out that Magic Johnson he came out and said that he is willing and open to work with Ben Simmons in the summer. If the Lakers and the Sixers both permit it, he would be willing to give him tips on how to be a big point guard in this league. And I think it's interesting to also note, while we're just, conspiring and I'm going through this long diatribe, and you're staying with me, aren't you, Miles? You're staying with me on this, right?
I'm with you.
It was also reported that an AD for Ben Simmons trade was discussed, and that came out as a part of the Pelicans shit list against the whole NBA, because they were holding the Lakers hostage, and they came out and they leaked the AD for Ben Simmons trade was discussed. And if I'm Ben Simmons, I'm never going to be the most loved player in Philadelphia. But if my agent sees a better fit for me elsewhere, maybe another Kristaps Porzingis-like trade could happen for Philadelphia. If we're hypothesizing, this is a couple things have to go this way, in my opinion, for like a Ben Simmons to LA Lakers trade to happen. One, the Philadelphia 76ers have to fail out in the playoffs in some way, and Ben Simmons has to be blamed. And the Lakers don't. The Lakers' young players don't step up and they miss the playoffs, which is like code red for LeBron. And they don't get a free agent, and they have to mix it up. Miles, where are my holes in the logic? And thank you for staying with me on this.
Well, at the beginning of that, the thing that would disturb me the most is if Ben Simmons actually took Magic Johnson up. Not because, yes, Magic Johnson could have, obviously, some phenomenal advice for a young player, especially as a big guard. But I think that Philadelphia has a really good thing going. And I think that attracting like outside noise, Ben Simmons going to work out with Magic Johnson, and then getting involved in that whole Lakers.
He's dating Kendall Jenner. I mean, could you not see, if you're Ben Simmons, could you not see a good life as a Los Angeles Laker?
Absolutely. Pretty much anybody in the NBA could see a good life with the Lakers. The fact is, LeBron James is there right now, and they've got a mess. No matter which way you look at it, they've had chemistry issues.
Well, let's just transition to the Lakers full out.
Okay.
And give him that give me a Sergio conspiracy reading, like as from 0 to 10, 10 being the most believable.
Ben Simmons, that's a pretty deep conspiracy.
To LA Lakers, I'm calling it right now, February 2019.
That's like a 9 on the conspiracy level.
As in insane, you can't believe it, or like
I really would be blown away if that happened.
Okay, we'll see.
In 2019, that's early. That's this summer.
No. Well, maybe. I'm saying it right now is when I'm saying it.
That
right.
Ben Simmons will be a Laker eventually.
It could be.
In the LeBron era.
Right. If things go sour in the Philadelphia.
What's the earliest that the Lakers get a championship in your head?
Look, if Ben Simmons is unhappy in Philadelphia, where's he going to try and force a trade to? I'm just saying.
I don't see Ben Simmons as unhappy in Philadelphia. I mean, if it happens, yeah, then LA becomes the number one destination in my head. I mean, given the information that I have on that situation. So far, yeah, we'll put a pin in that one for sure.
Yeah. So the Lakers lost to said previous Sixers today after a Friday night showing against the Boston Celtics that had won Laker fans' hope. And now,
so the day before the trade deadline, they get blown out by 40 in LeBron James' first game back. Which
wasn't
to me
was the day of the trade deadline? Because they didn't have.
I think it was the day before the final day.
Okay.
Like the 6th, and then the trade deadline was the 7th. I think is how it went. Either way, LeBron James' first game back, they get beat by 40. There's that picture of LeBron James sitting at the end of the bench with his teammates all on the other side. It's unnecessary, especially as like an ambassador of the NBA. That's the kind of behavior you're going to show in your first game back. You're the best player in the world, and you get beat by 40. His head was somewhere else. The New Orleans Pelicans absolutely annihilated the psyche of the Lakers. And that's probably the first time I've ever seen it, in my lifetime at least, that I've ever seen a team actually like destroy the chemistry of another team with a trade. Like, oh yeah.
That didn't even happen.
That didn't happen. Yeah. That's the craziest part. Is that the trade didn't happen. New Orleans stopped picking up the phone. They're like, yeah, we're not going to.
What about all I could think of is the Kobe Bryant trade that didn't happen to the Chicago Bulls. that, involved Tim Thomas, some picks. Luol Deng was in it. I think it was like 2007, 2008. And they didn't know if Phil Jackson was going to come back and coach the Lakers or not. They didn't have Pau Gasol, but instead they got Pau Gasol. And Kobe
then they made a run like in 2010 or something like that, right?
Right, but it was right before that. Kobe wanted out, and he wanted to go to a large market who was also a contender. And he was like one of the first players to use the extension and, what's that, where he could veto any trade.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
like
he had that.
Option. Yeah.
Yeah. But, the Saints ownership by the NFL handles player contracts way differently than the NBA. I think they looked at the situation and thought, you have a year and a half on your contract yet. We don't have to trade you until the summer. We're not going to do it.
And to New Orleans' credit, I think that was the right choice. As the league was really pushing New Orleans to get Anthony Davis out, and not even to get him out in New Orleans, but to get him on a championship team right now. I think ultimately they made the right decision with keeping him.
And in regarding to playing him or not, or sitting him, if you look at Paul George, if you look at Kristaps Porzingis, guys who've come back from like crazy, devastating injuries, they still fetch a fairly high market value on the league.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like Anthony Davis is a top 5 player. You got to play him.
So it would damage the asset, but it would damage the integrity of the league more if they cared about the asset more than the entertainment portion and sat a healthy player. So in that aspect, it's like, are they really bullying the Pelicans into playing him? I don't think so. And it's different because he said he would play for them. It'd be different if he said he didn't want to.
Greg Popovich picked up a $250,000 fine when he sat his starting 5 against the Warriors. Was that like 2013?
On like a nationally televised game. They just don't want the TV deals to be messed with, which that's fine. That's how it goes.
That makes sense. That's the business side of things. So the other team, the Bucks won big time. They picked up Mirotic. Let me find the trade. Hold on. I wrote it down. Mirotic for Stanley. New Orleans Pelicans got, let's see, second round pick, like a late second round pick.
4 second rounders, Stanley Johnson and Jason Smith. The Bucks get Mirotic, and the Pistons get Thon McCurr.
That's the one. Yep. Which actually, I'm kind of happy for Thon McCurr. I was always kind of like looking for him to break out in the league because he is skilled and talented. He's an athletic wonder. And I remember watching him in high school and thinking that he was going to become like what Giannis is right now. And he really kind of
thought with the number 10 overall pick as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think parting with Maker was it's good, ultimately. Sending him to Detroit is an interesting fit with Griffin and Drummond. Already got kind of the big.
Yeah, but if all you have is Stanley, if you're giving up on Stanley Johnson, Thon's is a decent option next to Blake.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not going to work. It's going to be an interesting fit. I'm kind of excited to see how it works out. But
as a Bulls fan, I think Mirotic would have been a great, or as a Blazers fan who lives in Chicago and watches the Bulls a lot, I think, I watched a lot of Mirotic last year before he got punched in the face and broke his glass jaw by Bobby Portis, who now plays for the Washington Wizards. And he really stretches the floor. He's like a Ryan Anderson, who's a skilled big, who can actually put the ball on the floor and be a little bit of physical, get rebounds for you. He's a really skilled European big man. And if he was on Portland, man, he would really fit well with them. I think he's just a great fit for Milwaukee.
Yeah. Milwaukee, right now, the number 1 team in the league, and they add a shooter like Mirotic. So to me,
He doesn't
Milwaukee,
it doesn't even compare to the Marc Gasol edition. If you think about big European men going to Eastern Conference contenders at the trade deadline, like Mirotic is such a better player. He was a valuable player for New Orleans after Anthony Davis got hurt. He was like partly of the reason why they swept the Blazers. He's a very, very good addition.
yeah, he flies under the radar too, which is like such a European thing. But that's the value of European players in the NBA to me, is that they're willing to take those positions where, yeah, I'll sit in the corner and wait for a three. They don't really need to be the face of a franchise, but they are the difference between a championship team and a second-round team. I think Milwaukee right now, I don't know if they're the most dangerous option to beat Golden State, but I think they can definitely take out Toronto.
I think you have to stop. You have to look at it in terms of like not if they can beat Golden State, or it's whether or not they can emerge out of the East, because the East is so wide open without LeBron James. It's how do they match up with Kawhi and the Toronto Raptors? How do they match up with Joel and the Sixers? Same question for the Sixers. How do they match up with Milwaukee? And Mirotic, if you think about Brook Lopez, we were texting. I think we had a little argument about whether or not Brook Lopez is valuable. But if you think about just schematically how they use him as a stretch five with Giannis at the 4, you could really do damage with Mirotic in that same role.
That is true. My argument with Brook Lopez, just to clear this up, is Brook Lopez takes a lot of bad shots. A lot of bad shots. I think his three-point percentage could be a lot higher. And the shots that I've seen him take all year at least, it's just like he runs down the floor, puts in a lot of effort, sits at the three-point line. They get the ball up like they're, pushing a fast break, which for Milwaukee is significant. And then he bombs a 3. That's why I'm excited to have Mirotic, because hopefully he can make an extra swing and hit somebody who's supposed to take those kind of shots. I don't have a problem with Brook Lopez stepping out and stretching the floor, especially when you've got Giannis taking up all the space down in the paint and commanding all the attention that he does. And Giannis has figured out how to find his shooters on the outside. And he's actually I wouldn't call him a very good passer. He's a good passer, an adequate passer at this point in his career. And I see him as more of the MVP than I do James Harden. Not that we're really going to get into that right now, but I like Milwaukee for the Eastern Conference finalists at this point.
Man,
but I'm very excited about.
If you just look at Brook Lopez's 3-point percentage by year, 0-0, because he only took 2 attempts as a rookie, 2 attempts his sophomore year, 1 attempt his third year, 0 his fifth year, 1 his sixth year, 1 the next year, 10, 14. Then all of a sudden, 2016 takes 384 at 34%. 325 last year at 34%. Already this year, 353 at 38% from 3. You talk about evolution and guys adding things to their game to stay in the league and stay afloat. Brook Lopez is one of the guys you got to look at and say, man, he put in the work and developed that outside shot and really was able to stretch the floor and stay in the league.
And 38%, especially for your big man, that's excellent. That's excellent. I just like to see him take.
And I do agree. I do agree with you that Giannis is the front runner for the MVP. And in terms of the storyline, because that, like I've said, that's the important driving narrative that determines whether or not a player is MVP or the best player in the world, because those are different things.
Yes.
James Harden, the last 2 MVPs were Sam Hinkie draft prodigies. I don't know the adjective that goes with people who were drafted. Draftees, Sam Hinkie, no, not Sam Hinkie, Sam Presti. Sam Presti from Oklahoma City. But this year, I don't see James Harden repeating, because I don't see the Houston Rockets having a record that would warrant an MVP level performer.
Well, and right now what Houston is focused on, or I should say what James Harden is focused on and what D'Antoni is focused on, is keeping James Harden's 40-point streaks alive. is scoring 30 and 40. So, for instance, the first half of the game, was it yesterday against Oklahoma, where he has 25 in the first half. That's phenomenal. He shot the ball well in the first half. They were up, I think, 27, not at halftime exactly, but they were up 27 at one point. And then James Harden goes cold, but he keeps on shooting the ball because he wants to get to 40. He got to 42 points on 11 of 28. If you take 30 shots a game, there's literally probably 90 players in the NBA. And if you gave them 30 shots a game, they could get to 40. So I'm not impressed by James Harden. I say that relatively because it is impressive. He's one of the greatest shooters in the league, but the talent level in the NBA right now is there's 2 or 3 guys on each roster that could probably do that with 30 shots. Paul George, on the other end, did it on 12 of 22 shooting. He put up 45 in the exact same game, and they came back and beat Houston off a 27-point deficit.
And I don't think what Harden's doing is sustainable either throughout the duration of a whole playoff run. So
if he takes
the trade deadline,
game,
Houston Rockets,
they're not going to win.
They traded for Iman Shumpert in a deal that sent the Cleveland Cavaliers traded Stauskas, Wade Baldwin, Blazer guys, Chris and Knight, and a 2019 first-round pick went to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then Sacramento was in there as well. That's where Shumpert was from. They also got Kenneth Faried at January 21st. Man, I don't see Houston having nearly the playoff run that they had last year. You know, I think Chris Paul kind of hit the wall. I don't think point guards age very well. And I just don't see it. I think Portland has a way better chance of advancing farther in the playoffs.
I hope so. Portland picking up Rodney Hood could be interesting.
And Skal Labissiere. I think
that was a lateral move. I think he can be a little bit more productive immediately for us than Caleb Swanigan was.
Caleb Swanigan was good at setting screens, and that was valuable in a Terry Stotts motion offense. But he wasn't able to do much else. He wasn't able to develop that outside game.
Yeah, I kind of grown attached to Caleb Swanigan. Just that
it's an underdog story that everybody likes to root for. So
yeah, exactly. And I love the fact that I watched him play at Purdue, and I was really impressed. And then Portland picked him up, and I didn't really expect that. So I really liked the Caleb Swanigan story. I understand them trading him for Skal Labissiere. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, and I think the Baldwin and Stauskas trade was good because Seth Curry played surprisingly well this year, enough that he and Stauskas kind of did the same thing in the second unit with the Blazers. Curry's a really automatic knockdown three-point shooter. And when you have a second unit, because Terry Stotts likes to go 5 and 5. When you have Evan Turner out there with the two towers, Collins and Leonard, and either Harkless or Layman, you really don't, Stauskas was kind of redundant in that role. And if you put a Rodney Hood, especially in the starting lineup, that elevates, and you take a Jake Layman out of the starting lineup, put him with the second unit, at that second wing with Harkless, I think that's a better second unit. And they wouldn't, because they were calling and sending one of Simons, Baldwin, Swanigan to the G League because they didn't have enough active roster slots. So trading a 2-for-1 with the Hood trade, and then straight up with Skal Labissiere, like 15 guaranteed items on the rest of the roster. This is the playoff roster. Nobody's getting traded or released. This is the group going forward. I think it works with team cohesion. Neil Olshey is great with, last point about Rodney Hood. He's great at finding low-level guys and really developing them. If you look at a Wesley Matthews, even CJ McCollum, they're Portland is really good at just developing within themselves. Rodney Hood, last year in the Cleveland Cavaliers, he was brought in to help LeBron on offense, and then he got on LeBron's poop list and didn't see the light of day. And he just needs a franchise that believes in him, because Cleveland was dysfunctional. Utah gave up on him too early, in my opinion, and didn't develop him the right way.
I think Portland's a really good franchise for that, just making players feel comfortable. Because Jusuf Nurkic, when you look at his stats and what he was doing in Denver, I was really unimpressed. And trading Plumlee for Nurkic, I was not a fan of that trade.
And we got a first-round pick.
Yeah, that turned out to be a really clutch trade. And we got Nurkic, who's playing, in my opinion, like up there with the best centers in the league. I think Rodney Hood could be a good thing. I like that Portland has nailed down the playoff roster, like you said. And I think they're a little more focused than a lot of the other teams. I don't want to say a lot of the other teams in the West, but some of the ones that are on the fringe, like the Rockets, who are still struggling. The Clippers are somehow an 8th seed right now. I think they're going to slip, but I don't know. They played well. The Western Conference playoff situation is really interesting, but I think Portland's is sustainable. I think they're definitely a second-round team. And if they can make second round, honestly, and match up against, I guess it'd be the Warriors at this point, right? I don't think they can take out the Warriors, but hopefully they can push them to at least 5 or 6.
Yeah, the Blazers really need that 3 seed again this year. They really can't have a Golden State second round.
Yeah, the franchise kind of depends on it, actually, because if they lose or get swept at all in this coming playoffs, something's got to change, which means McCollum or Lillard has to go, which probably realistically means McCollum, or Lillard decides he wants to be a Laker. Let's not talk about that one. Raptors.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either. I think Portland's going to have a good year.
Raptors got Marc Gasol. Real quick on Marc Gasol. Then we'll do All-Star draft. Then we're out. What's your Marc Gasol take?
I love the Marc Gasol pick. He's been trying to get.
I think he kind of flamed out. I don't think Toronto's enough. I don't think they've gelled with Kawhi. I think they play better. They play it more of like a team, more like a Spurs team without him. I think he's kind of a ball stopper, and I think he knows he's on his way to the Clippers. I think if it ends badly in a second round defeat, that he's out.
I don't know. They're 41-16 right now. I like the way Raptors are looking. I think they're a little bit sluggish, and they don't. You're right that they don't look like they're gelling exactly like a playoff machine, and I don't know that this 70% win percentage is sustainable for them. They're definitely not a team that's going to come into the playoffs and sweep through it. They're a team that's going to come in and get some pretty ugly series wins and have like a first round push to 7 or something like that. I think they're going to take an early exit. There's Philadelphia is hungry, or Milwaukee seems hungrier to me. Toronto's track record in the playoffs has not been good, and Kawhi's dedication to the team is kind of questionable.
He's gotten his numbers, and that's been important for him, but he hasn't played back-to-backs. He's been very cautious with his approach. They let Lowry. They always play him with Danny Green for a sense of familiarity. I think when he played, I think it was Boston last, he wasn't really a closer. Kyrie was more of the closer. And that's why that ended up being the difference in the end of the game. And I think that you'll see that play out if they eventually meet each other in the playoffs. I think Boston just has too many weapons. Like you said, Philadelphia with that death lineup. And even, I think they'll get out of the first round for sure. But that second round will be really interesting.
But Gasol adds a really skilled player in the post for them that can kind of at least stretch to a mid-range. And I think they were relying on Valanciunas for that, which I really like Valanciunas. Marc Gasol is definitely more skilled, though. And I think where you saw his career kind of going flat was the West improving while Memphis kind of stayed stagnant. And they've just been kind of annihilated the last few years. Mike Conley's been struggling a little bit. I think he definitely needs out of Memphis to a team that is going to appreciate him. And he's like one of the most underrated guards in the league, in my opinion.
I
But
think he's properly rated. I think, as you can see, you can win without him. You can do better than him. I think, his contract is way too big, and that's really going to bite Memphis in the coming. He's better than John Wall, I'll give you that. But John Wall might be the worst contract in the history of the league. He got 2 major catastrophic injuries.
And that's what I'd be worried about for the second half of this season for every single team is injuries. I think Indiana's going to slip. And I think those top 3 spots are going to be Milwaukee, Toronto, and Philadelphia, barring any kind of injuries. The Celtics, they might as well not even show up to the playoffs. I don't know what's going on with Boston.
Kyrie's out of there. He's out. There's no way.
That team's got to blow up.
They need to start over. They have better team cohesion without him and his Kyrie-ness. Anyways, let's go to the draft, all-star draft, and let's put on back your conspiracy hat, because Team LeBron, Kevin Durant, free agent this summer. Kyrie Irving, free agent this summer. Kawhi Leonard, free agent this summer. James Harden, he's not in this. Anthony Davis. Klay Thompson, free agent this summer. Damian Lillard. LeBron James has publicly said, "Give me Damian Lillard." Russell Westbrook traded for Ben Simmons. Remember my other conspiracy regarding Ben Simmons. LaMarcus Aldridge, he's with the James Harden category. Karl Anthony Towns, he's also in that category. Bradley Beal, he was the last pick. Dwayne Wade, last pick. So out of the 3 players I named who are not in this category, the rest are tampering. Miles, which of the Team LeBron tamper agents have the biggest chances of landing on Los Angeles?
I'd say
Durant, Irving, Leonard, Davis, Thompson, Lillard.
Not Kevin Durant. Kyrie Irving, I think would honestly be probably the highest chance. Maybe Klay Thompson.
His dad played for the Los Angeles Lakers, and he said publicly that if they get AD, that he'd be interested, or it leaked somehow to the media that he'd be interested. I think Kyrie is the biggest chance of ending up with LA with that Kobe Bryant connection. I just think it could be destiny. He wants to do other things besides basketball, and Hollywood is such a, Lakers brand to go hand in hand.
With all the things that have gone on between Kyrie and LeBron, it makes the most sense that Kyrie ends up in LA.
How many times have you heard that Shaq and Kobe should have ...
Yeah,
what version of the if we think of NBA people, NBA historical figures translating in today, you have Hakeem Olajuwon, Joel Embiid, you have Magic Johnson with Ben Simmons, and you have Shaq and Kobe, LeBron and Kyrie. Isn't this beautiful? History just loves to repeat itself.
Oh, I don't know if the Shaq and Kobe to Kyrie and LeBron is the right. I don't know about that one.
If Golden State doesn't exist, who puts up a fight?
I don't know.
Golden State was a dynasty. And see, okay, stay with me on this. Okay, we're gonna go somewhere else here. With the Anthony Davis trade. Golden State, if you look at Golden State, In 2014, 2013, when they had Mark Jackson, there were rumblings about trading Klay Thompson for Kevin Love. The Splash Brothers were not what they were today. It was when Steve Kerr got there and they gelled with Harrison Barnes and another couple of ancillary pieces that they were able to take that next step. But you weren't judging them in 2012, 2011 when they were rookies and sophomores. It's too early to judge Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, and Lonzo Ball. I'm sorry. They're too young,
I agree
and
with
they
that.
could develop into something, I'm not saying more valuable than Anthony Davis, but not something that you should mortgage your entire reputation and future over, because you don't know. You just don't know. When a player has confidence, Lonzo is a completely different player when he has confidence and when he feels good. You just saw Kyle Kuzma drop 25 in the first quarter today. And when he knows he's not going to get traded, okay? Think if you just went all in with the young guys and stuck to the original plan, LeBron James, you would be in a way better scenario. They don't have to win when they're second-year players. They shouldn't be responsible for winning. They should have vets on the team like a Golden State, not like a Michael Beasley. I'm sorry. I'm not sure he's not an Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston to help you.
Well, he's a free agent now. He's up for grabs.
That's true. But I think the Golden State model is a better model, and that's why you bring in a guy like Luke Walton.
I agree. Actually,
and that's why
everything you just said.
And that's why you have to upgrade again from Luke Walton to somebody else, but you have to stick with the young guys. And I don't know if I would have done that for Anthony Davis.
You said the young guys don't have to win. You're absolutely right about that. But LeBron James does have to win. There's no other option for him. He cannot miss the playoffs. Otherwise, his entire legacy is going to come down to, remember when he went to LA?
And he missed the playoffs.
To the Los Angeles Clippers. When the Clippers become LA's team and LeBron is next door, come on. That can't happen. I don't blame them for going after Anthony Davis. I probably would have done the same thing if I had had that hope, a realistic hope of landing Anthony Davis. I feel like if you're put in that situation and New Orleans is like, no, this isn't going to happen, you feel the situation and you go back to your locker room and go, you guys are safe. Let's just play basketball. Try to make the playoffs with this group. And I honestly, I don't know. I've lost my steam on the whole Lakers optimism.
I think
I'm really curious to see what happens to LeBron as this season progresses, because so far I'm not impressed.
Here's I don't know if this is a hot take.
I
think the Lakers are going to come together more as a team than the Boston Celtics will, because most of the players in that Lakers locker room have looked up to LeBron at some point in their life. And I don't care if he wanted you gone or wanted you here. If LeBron James looks at you and says, you're my teammate, we have to come together, I need you, and he's counting on you, it's a different level of accountability, right? He's actually a teammate, and I don't think Kyrie and the Boston Celtics will have that ability, because I don't think the young Celtics players idolized Kyrie in the same way that the young Lakers have done that to LeBron.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Boston has a big leadership issue, and that Kyrie is thinking that he's the leader of this team, and he probably should be, but he's not doing a good job. And that's where I think the discourse is in Boston.
And I don't know if there's coming back from that.
Be their captain. I don't know if there is. I think the Lakers are already a better team than Boston.
Yeah.
What's your prediction for the finals right now?
Okay,
who wins it all?
We're not doing that.
Who wins it all?
This is where we have to cut it off.
All-star break.
All-star break. Actually, let's do who wins Team LeBron versus Team Giannis.
LeBron.
Well, hold on. Team Giannis has Curry, Embiid, Paul George, Kemba Walker, Chris Middleton, Jokic, Simmons. Oh no, They traded him for Westbrook. Griffin, D'Angelo Russell, Vucevic, and Lowry and Nowinski. Oh, yeah, no, they're not going to win. They're not going to win. No.
I think that team's going to be more competitive, but
You surprised Bradley Beal was the last pick?
no. He's from Washington.
I would have taken him over Kyle Lowry. Dude's been averaging like 28 since John Wall's been out.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Okay, that's it for today. Back at you next week. Miles, peace.
Out.